Hello everyone, welcome to Summit Metals. We're super excited to have you here. My name is Eric. I'm joined by my partner,
Jose.
Great to have you. We are really excited. We've got a fun show today. Before we start, we really want to encourage you to like, subscribe, comment, check the bell. We read all of your comments. We're very focused on making the channel really work for you. We see you as a partner in our business, and we want you to become incredibly informed, because the better informed you are, the better of an investor, the better of a collector, stacker you're going to be. So welcome aboard. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 questions we get from new investors. And so let's jump right in. Jose, you ready?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. How is the price of gold and silver set, and why is the price that a customer pays often higher than spot price?
Got it. So spot price is an accumulation, supply and demand globally, and there's a lot of processes that go into the premium that you pay on a coin bar, which starts with the mining operations that exist,
Okay.
then the transportation of that.
So mining
metal.
meaning geological surveys, either blowing something up to get to the metal, tunneling down, those kind of things, all the equipment, infrastructure that has to be purchased
Yes.
to get that ore out of the ground.
Yes.
Okay.
And once you get that ore out of the ground, you have to transport it to a refiner.
Okay.
And the refiner makes it into that 24 karat gold or 5999 silver.
Okay.
Once it gets refined into these large bars, it gets taken over to a mint.
Okay.
The mint now does the craftsmanship of what you receive.
Right. Like
such
an
as
example
this
you have,
gold buffalo coin.
Yes. Yeah.
These designs, like creating the design, cost money, pressing it, pushing it, packing it, and then redistributing it to the public adds to the cost.
Right.
And then it finally gets to your hands through us, like selling it
Right.
to the public, because we need to also ship it to you, handle it, process your payments, and so much more, even protecting
and our own markup
Yes.
for our own business.
Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
And that's where you get the premium from.
Okay, so that's how premiums work. So it's kind of like if you buy a car, right? I mean, if you want to add a fancy stereo, you want to do all the different things other than just the raw metal of a car, it costs more.
Correct.
Right? It's very similar to that. Okay, so let's talk about something that we do get asked quite a bit too, and that's as it relates to purchases and the government. A lot of people want to know, if I buy this thing, does it get reported to the government, right?
Yeah.
So there's a form called 8300 that dealers have to use in the event someone purchases something for $10,000 or more. Okay. Now, if you come in and you were to spend at your local coin shop $9,999, they're probably still going to report that. If you did 9,000 and showed up tomorrow and did 1,000, they're still likely going to report that, because it's kind of the spirit of what you're doing. You're spending 10,000 in cash. In our case, it doesn't apply, because we don't do cash transactions. All of our transactions either come through wires or checks or something that's effectively already in the banking system. So when you're dealing with Summit Metals, you don't have to worry at all about your transactions being reported to the government.
And that's a common question that's always asked.
Yes.
Because we do get a lot of calls. It's like, hey, can I get exactly 3 of something
Yes.
that's under 10,000
Right.
US dollars? And we just respond automatically. It's like, this isn't a cash transaction. There's nothing to report here. You can
Yes.
purchase as much as you want.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's a very good question, right? Because we are dealing with in a community that above all values privacy. So privacy is super important, and we maintain that inside of our own operations. And so you don't need to worry. That's not happening here. Okay. Here's a question for you. What's better, coins, bars, or rounds? First, tell us a little bit what's the difference,
Yes.
and then, why is one better than another?
So a round is just something that's made privately by a private company, whereas a coin is made by a sovereign mint, as in it's a government, it has a face value on it that you could actually
A face value like $1 or a
Yes.
pound or something like
You
that.
could pay your taxes with it.
Yes.
Which we do not recommend you do.
You'd be the complete idiot to do it. Yes.
Yes.
Because that coin right there has a face value, I believe, of $50.
$50, yeah.
Yet it's worth over $3,300.
So you could go and pay your bills with this to the U.S. government for $50, but it is not recommended.
I've heard shady stories of where an estate will liquidate
Yes.
and an unsuspecting person all of a sudden inherits, say, 10 of those buffaloes, and they walk into someone and they say, I want to trade this in for cash. And the guy goes, oh, well, it's worth $50. Here's your $500.
Oh, no.
And that's just outright thievery.
Wow.
I mean, that is absolutely stealing and completely immoral, wrong in every way. But that does happen. So it's really important to understand that what it says it's valued and what it's actually valued are completely different things, and subject to what you described earlier, the movement of the spot price, the current price of a particular product, be it gold or silver.
And then the bar finally is just it's square or rectangular. It's a bar, and a bar could be a coin.
Yes.
If it has a face value on it.
Right.
So a coin doesn't necessarily mean it's round. It simply means that it has a sovereign face value to it.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So a coin and a round, how are they different?
Oh, the coin is the face value with the sovereign thing, but a round is just made privately.
Okay, but it looks the same.
It looks the same.
They're both round, but one
round.
sovereign
Yep.
has a face value, one does not.
Correct.
The sovereign ones tend to trade for more money
Yes.
because they're coming sanctioned from a government. Okay, so that's the question of those.
yeah.
Do you prefer one over another?
I tend to like both. How about this? I don't like bars. Does that answer the question?
This is the guy that had, very first time I met him, showed
Yeah,
up
yeah,
with
yeah,
a
yeah,
20-ounce
yeah.
Scottsdale stacker
Well,
bar.
I don't like bars. I prefer coins.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. They're easier to stack. That's
They are easier to stack, but I just use the word the term coin being something round.
Okay.
So I am fine with anything that's round.
You don't care whether it's sovereign or not.
Not necessarily.
I think in our case, we tend to see, again, for the new investors, people that their only goal is to get a lot of, for example, silver. That's all they care. The amount of silver they have, they'll tend to buy rounds because they're less expensive. You can buy more.
Yes.
People that are a little pickier, people that actually, really enjoy kind of the process of owning sovereign mint, like, if you will, almost like, not almost, but real legal tender from a particular government, they'll buy coins, right? So that's where it's a little different. Also, where you see bars is where it typically, when you're getting into heavier weights, right? Like if you're buying 100-ounce, that's not going to typically come in a coin in silver. It's typically going to be a bar. Typically anything above 10 ounces is almost always in a bar, right? Things like that. So there is a use case where bars do make sense, but certainly not always.
I would say that for silver specifically, I would lean more heavily towards coins rather than rounds on the fact of its liquidity and
Yes.
trust.
Yes,
Because
true.
it's very easy to know if something's fake from
Right.
a silver perspective, especially like the Canadian mints and Britannias, their
Yeah.
security features. You could spot a fake one like a mile away.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. A lot of the new sovereign coins, not only do they have better kind of milking protection on the coin, but they also typically come with security features that are round per se from a private mint very likely does not have.
And that keeps their prices lower, which is why.
Exactly. All right, so we're kind of getting into like the
Yeah.
quality of a coin, or how can you tell? So how do you know you're not getting scammed?
All right. So this one, there's a lot to unpack here with it, because one is buy from a trusted dealer. That's the best way you can not get scammed.
Yeah, we want you to buy here. But if you do not buy from us, please buy from a trusted dealer who's got a great reputation you can read, study about, and know that you're going to get what you're actually paying for.
Yes. Then, once you find a trusted dealer, there's a lot of things you could be doing. I don't know if we want to talk about these machines here.
Yeah,
Eric.
sure, why not? Yeah.
You can talk about the Sigma machine. It's electromagnetic, so you're able to determine the composition of the metal, if it is gold, silver, whereas...
Right, so this is measuring the conductivity, the signal going through the metal, and it's got a lot of different settings that you can... This is a Sigma Pro, and it's got a lot of different settings where you actually put in the exact coin, and so it knows exactly how to read that coin, whether it's legit or not. It measures it from the top and the bottom. And then we have some other features that plug in where you can measure like big bars from all over and things like that as well.
As well as the size. We'll make another video specifically on testing requirements,
Doing it,
because
yeah.
we definitely should do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's not just putting a coin there and being like, green light.
Yeah.
There's a gravity test, there's weight, there's ping test, which I can't even do it. Magnet.
Ping test, their
Acid test.
Acid test, correct. One I like in particular, right here, you can see a machine. This is an XRF. It's actually a radar. It says, X-rays present.
X-ray.
And I'm sorry, an X-ray, and it will look at the coin and give you the actual metal composition. For example, I was over in Thailand about 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and I bought one of the Thai gold chains, which is really
23
cool.
carat.
Yes, theirs come as 23 carat. What I found though was mine was what they call 23 plum, meaning higher than 23, or 23 parts of 24 was pure gold. What it was really exciting about it was the other part, that 1/24th, was pure silver.
Yeah.
What an amazing chain, right? So,
had
but this will
precious
tell you that, and
100%.
often we've had cases where customers will, they sell a lot of metals through us, and we test everything. It's really interesting when you put some of the products in there, because you can see exactly what the makeup of those metals are, and we have absolutely found things that are not, in fact, legit. So again, back to that point you made earlier, buying from a dealer who's willing to do the test, that's willing to only buy from, known U.S. mints and very high quality private producers, and then still testing those products to make sure they're good, is super important. You need to know you're getting what you paid for.
Exactly. And just comment down below if you're interested in watching this video sooner rather than later on how to avoid being scammed and testing your
Yeah,
coins.
we'd love to hear your experience, whether that's happened to you before or not, right? All right, let's jump to how do I get actually the best deal when I'm trying to buy gold or silver?
Okay, how do you get the best deal? Well, buying in the largest size denomination is typically the best way to go for either gold or silver. It's not always the cheapest if it's a particularly collectible type thing, like a 10 kilogram coin
Right.
from the Perth Mint.
Yeah.
I mean that's a collectible, cool coin, but
Yeah.
you want to stick with 1 ounce of gold is typically going to be the cheapest in terms of premium.
Right.
And then for silver, it starts at 100 ounces.
So typically, the heavier the purchase, the smaller the premium. And then I would go back to the very beginning question, spot. You can buy metals in a lot of different places. I would make sure that the dealer you're buying from is actually using spot, not some made up spot or some futures price of spot. You want to buy your product relative to the actual spot price, right? You wouldn't go buy a stock on the stock market and then find that you're buying it at one dealer at a different price and you're buying it at another, right? Because the baseline fundamentals of how it's priced are completely different.
We challenge you, viewers and stackers, go ahead, look at the spot price, and sometimes you'll see there $49.99 over spot, but that spot is $20 extra,
Right.
or a full dollar more.
Right. It's really not over spot.
So it's
over a made up spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's
look at the final price.
the final price. And I think that's the way a lot of newer investors in particular get hoodwinked.
Yes.
They think they're getting a better deal because they see price over spot, but they're not recognizing that spot varies by dealer. So there's a spot you can find like on Kitco, you can find it on like TradeView, things like that. And you'll find in our case, the spot tends to track sometimes a little bit above, sometimes a little bit below, because we're pulling from different places as well. But it's going to be very, very close. And I can promise you that if you really do the work, go look at other dealers, you're going to find that their spot prices are often much, much higher, sometimes in the $10, $20, even $30 more for a single ounce of gold, as an example. And that is also true with silver. So that's really important.
And I also want to get back also to that question about getting the best deal for gold and silver. One thing is, yes, a lot of these new investors say, well, how can I get it the cheapest? they're only thinking from the buy side, but they forget about the sell side of,
Yes.
yes, you bought an ounce of gold, you saved a couple of dollars in a premium. When you go to sell it, liquidate it, there's 10 more buyers who would buy a fractional than a whole coin. And you should think about these things. Yes, you can come sell it here to us. Anytime we'll buy it. But what if you want to sell it locally to your friend or family?
Yeah.
They might have only cash for a fractional of whatever you have.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think you're going to see more premium compression, the difference between the buy and the sell, the larger the product, right? The heavier the product.
Yes.
You know, a 1 ounce will have a smaller premium, for example, buy sell, than a 1/10 ounce. To your point, though, the market at 1/10 is maybe 10x what it is for the people that can buy a single ounce of gold, now over $3,300 for a single coin, the one you're holding in your hand, right? So that is a difference. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. And this is a question that is kind of near and dear to me, kind of coming from my background in the investment world. But should you wait to buy for, you know, for the prices to drop before you'll actually make a purchase?
My opinion on this is buying precious metals is not like day trading in the stock market. It's about entering the market in of itself because it's a great savings mechanism.
Yeah.
And on top of it, should I wait for it to drop? A lot of the folks that I talk with, even customers, is yesterday is the best time to buy. Today is the next best day.
Yeah. I'm not sure I particularly buy that, but I think what you were on initially is kind of the way I look at it, which is trying to time a market's a fool's game. There are so many of our current customers who are waiting for gold to be below 2,000 an ounce right now.
Yes.
And it's now well above 3,300 as we're filming today. So I think that's a fool's game. I think if you really, really want to do it, and what I consider the best way to do it, it's to dollar cost average. So that's periodically investing the same amount or for the same product, like on a monthly basis, so that you're getting the highs, you're capturing the lows, but the averages tend to be trending very favorably for you going into the future. And you're not sitting there having to stare at this thing 24/7 trying to catch a break, you know, or when something goes down and then you wait, and then the price shoots up and now you're out of the market and you have nothing. You haven't done anything towards securing your future in that respect of storing your value in a way that's going to serve you for the future because you're waiting for the price to drop. So it's crazy to think that you're going to have more price control over, say, a central bank that buys by the tons versus you buying by the 10th of an ounce or even an ounce, right? It's just, you're not going to influence that market. So the key is just to be systematic and just know you're doing the right thing, and in time it's going to work. Now, we're not giving financial advice, but that's the way I personally think about it and do it, and I think you should consider doing the same. Okay, so I've got my metal. Now something's happened. I want to buy a car. I want to make a down payment on a home. I've got an emergency, a medical emergency I need to pay for. I need to liquidate some of the money that I have in these metals. How do I do that?
All right. So you're working here.
And by the way, Jose heads that up here at Summit Metals.
I do a lot of those calls come in for the sales.
Right.
And you call us, email us, and you just simply state what it is you're selling. Typically, we start with at least 1 ounce of gold or 100 ounces of silver, because the smaller fractionals, it just doesn't work. It's easier to sell it locally. We give you a quote. So basically, let's just say this buffalo, we'll give you more than spot than it. We typically just don't pay just spot for things. And then you agree to that price, lock it in. Locked in means it doesn't matter if the market moves up or down. If it moves down, we'll honor paying you that price. If it goes up, well, there's an expectation that you honor your side as well, sending it to us.
Yes.
And then we give you a shipping label that's fully insured. 2 days, it arrives to us. We validate it, verify it, weigh it, do a lot of different things to make sure it's good. And then we send you a payment on what we agreed on the price of the item, so long as it comes in, as we described, BU, which is Bullion circulated in condition that's marketable and sellable again, not thrown into to be melted.
Right. Yeah, I've heard it described almost as like retail friendly,
Retail
like
friendly.
the kind of product you'd want to receive.
Yes.
Right. So yeah.
And then the form of payment that you want to receive, physical check, Zelle, PayPal, Wire, ACH. I don't even know what else I mentioned. Just not cash.
Right. Yes, not cash. Yes, we do not deal in cash. Yeah.
And Eric, in terms of this, because you're talking about ready to sell, one of the things that people talk about is like, do you report it to the IRS? Do you have any like thoughts on that? Because we don't have to.
Yeah.
On these certain amounts.
No, it takes a great amount before you get into that. Over 3 kilograms of gold, and I think it's the COMEX size of silver, typically in multiple 1,000 ounce bars, things like that. It becomes reportable. So for our customers, it's not an issue.
Just inquire, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll actually research your specific case and make sure you're covered and you understand exactly what you're getting into.
We can make a video just on this topic in of itself.
We should, yeah, for sure. Okay. Do you think there's a minimum that this new investor should have at least before they start investing in precious metals?
Well, we are not financial advisors. I would first say do have an emergency fund.
I agree. I think having a rainy day fund,
that is,
many would describe that as like 6 months of cash to cover your bills, right? Your rent, your mortgage, your food, and all the things of your necessities of life in cash
or your local currency.
Right. Correct.
So once you have emergency fund, then we can start talking about how much to invest or how much. Literally, it could be as little as $40 to buy at current price an ounce of silver.
Yeah.
That's as low as you need at today.
Yeah. I know in my case, one of my sons, Andrew, shout out to you, Andrew, he started by buying a gram of gold. He bought our wallet. He has a gram of gold. Every month he adds to the gram, and lo and behold, it's adding up. And it's gone up in value, to his credit, for sticking to the plan. And what a great way to start. And he was past that place where he was past the rainy day, and he could start actually accumulating. So as you're building the other assets in your life, be it real estate or stock portfolios or all those other places you can put funds, I think it makes absolutely perfect sense from a portfolio standpoint to start investing in precious metals. And the reason we like physical precious metals is because it doesn't involve counterparty risk. Kind of we described a little bit about the government thing. It doesn't involve, reporting to the government and stuff like that. Now, you're always subject to capital gains. Like if you buy something for a price and you sell it for a profit, you're technically supposed to report that to the government as a capital gain and pay taxes on that. That's between you and the government, your CPA, things like that.
Not us. We're not in between.
We're not involved. That's not our world. We don't deal with that. We honestly don't care. We're focused on delivering the product you buy and doing it fast and efficiently and at the lowest cost.
And with regards to what you just said about buying and counterparty risk, the other aspect is one should not have 100% of it within their home. They should really consider putting in a private vault at some point. Like maybe you have precious metals, 3 months worth of precious metals, but the rest should be diversified in different safe locations. And it's very important to consider that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, and you can check on your own, but most homeowners' insurance plans don't cover precious metals in your home. So you might have a little allotment for like jewelry or stuff like that, but it's very, very small. And when you try to price it, you're going to find out it's very expensive. You actually save money and security of knowing that when you're putting it in a vault like we have, that it's insured, it's 100% protected, it's secure, things like that. And the beauty is when you do come to that day, as we discussed earlier, when you liquidate, it's virtually instantaneous. There's nothing to ship, there's nothing to do that. We immediately liquidate it and bam, you get the money.
We get that all the time. People just store their metals with us and then all of a sudden, hey, I have this investment opportunity. You know what I have, can you just wire me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same day, they get their money, they do their transaction, done.
Yeah, and I would suggest though, even kind of as we talked about the rainy day, when you're talking about things like keeping so much cash on hand, things like that, I think you should do the same thing with metals too. I think, things can happen. I think it makes sense to have a quantity of silver and gold at home that's well protected, hidden, things like that. I think where you hide it's more important even than where you hide, than how you hide it. If you can't find it, you can't steal it. You can't take it from somebody.
Don't tell people that you have it.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut, keep it private, just like everything else, And then that way it's much, much more secure. So that's kind of your rainy day, call it metals fund. A lot of people choose to keep all their metals. If I don't own it, if I don't hold it, I don't own it. Is that kind of mindset. I think as you become a bigger investor, as you have more assets, there's more at play. Having it insured, having it professionally protected actually starts to matter. You'll never find a very, very large investor, for example, that has all of his assets in one place, no matter what it is. And this is the same thing. You want to diversify not only what you're holding, but the location of where you're holding it as well. So that makes perfect sense. All right, as we're winding down,
Yes.
what is the thing that bullion dealers wish more buyers knew or understood before they kind of start the process of becoming a precious metals buyer or seller?
Sometimes looking for the cheapest price is not necessarily the best move because corners are cut when you're going for a lower price bullion dealer.
Yeah.
Those costs could go in various different forms, like maybe your shipment is actually not insured.
Right. Maybe they tell you it's insured, but they saved a little money on the side and actually didn't insure it.
Correct.
It doesn't matter until all of a sudden your package doesn't arrive, right?
There's no very limited customer service on like, hey, my package is being lost, or hey, this is. You can never get a hold of someone over a phone call or even an email.
Yeah. Or maybe you receive a product and it's not of the quality you were expecting.
Yeah.
You can't return it. There's no one to return it to. I just saw an example of where a group down in Florida just got in trouble because I guess they were showing up at like gas stations or something like that, and they're going, hey, I need a little money and I've got a gold bar or something like that. If you just give me just this much money for it, you can have the gold. I'd rather have the cash. Of course, it turned out the gold was fake. And the video I saw was actually the guy being arrested. But great,
Nice.
right? So taking, a guy off the street. But when you're dealing with dealers that are just super low cost, things like that, you do run risk. Now, I'll tell you straight up, we have, in many cases, the lowest prices in America on many of our products. So we think price does matter. We're not trying to be the group that's telling you because we're wonderful or because we have a chandelier in our office that you get to pay 3 times more for your product than you should. We think the efficiency of the purchase actually matters. So we try to keep our shipping very cost effective. We try to keep our products very, very cost effective, and yet we don't cut corners. Everything's insured that's shipped. Everything goes when it's supposed to. We maintain a very substantial inventory to make sure we can deliver on time. And sometimes some anomaly happens, something, and then we'll immediately call the customer, make sure they're informed, give them options, things like that. There's no perfect scenario in any business, but we do everything we can to mitigate that, to make sure the customer is always happy, always getting exactly what they paid for when they want it and when they expect it.
I mean, I talk to you all stackers sometimes. I make phone calls and I'm like, hey, it might not come right at this very moment. It's going to come an extra day later, but that phone call makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
It gives you a peace of mind because you're not buying metals. You're just changing your currency. So it's like, where is the currency? It's en route to your home.
Yeah. I look at it like what we're ultimately trying to do with you, the buyer and the seller. We're trying to establish a very long-term relationship. We want you to rely on us and know that you can rely on us years into the future. So we're doing everything we can to make sure we're building the type of trust and satisfaction and the even feeling you get from dealing with us that makes you feel very comfortable, not just to come back to us, but even refer your friends and bring other people to the business, because it's serving a greater purpose. And the more of you that are assisting us to do things in bigger and bigger volumes, the more we can drive prices down and really affect the market positively for all of us.
Correct.
Okay. Last question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just one more. We kind of covered this in a lot of videos, but not everyone watches every video or stays to the end. What advice would you give a new investor when they're just starting out?
Start small and stay consistent.
Love it. I could not agree more. I think that's dead on accurate. If you do exactly what Jose just described, I think you're going to be in a very good place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, please like, subscribe, comment. We read them all. We do everything we can to answer every single one of those. And if we don't know the answer, we'll research it and find out and get back to you. We answer the phone. We want to be your partner in this process of doing something great for all of us. So thank you so much, Jose.
I want to ask in terms of adding questions down below that you'd like us to answer. And on our next video, we'll just pop a couple of questions asked in the comment section and mention your name.
Great idea. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much and happy stacking.
Take care.